up? This is Lordsky, superstar producer, end-time producer, Lord Percussion, and you're watching FreeMe TV Studio X, the making of Rudeboy's Audio Money. Stay locked. Basically, it started like this. Like after we made Reason With Me, and it was such a success. I think there was another song in the lineup to go right after Reason With Me, but Reason With Me got so big, he couldn't drop another song so quick. So time got into it, and I think I was gonna travel. And usually when I'm traveling for a long time, I hit Rudeboy up. I'm like, yo, I'm about to travel. I think I was gonna be in the US for over a month. So I told him I'm going away. And he was like, oh yeah, before you go, come through. I think I might have something in my head. So we slated a date, and I went to his place. We didn't record at my place. And I got in there, it was just a normal chilled session. We weren't even in the studio. I was there, Larry Gaga was there, and Josh was there. So we're just chilling, having fun for like 2 hours. Then it's like, oh, let's hit the studio. So we got into the studio. This wasn't one of the beats I would have made and sent to the artist, because Rudeboy likes to work the other way. Like his vibe is so strong. He would rather have a 5 a.m. idea, like he calls it. Song hits him at 5 a.m. He has the hook. He probably calls you and hums a few things, and then you see how you can bring that to life. So we got into the studio, and I think basically he went, oh yeah, I have this song, I have the first few lines. Everybody read for Instagram, bam. Format for Instagram, bam. So I'm like, oh, okay, that sounded nice. So I think we might have decided, he said noisy. I remember the word. He said a noisy beat, something that is danceable. And then I try to say these things I'm trying to express. And so basically we decided the pattern. And then he might have stepped up from the studio. Then I started to create. I created mostly with the elements that I know drives his vibe. Like he likes strings, he likes this. Those things bring out the writing power in him. So basically I put down a few things, and then when he came back to the studio, he started to voice. Then as he started to voice, I started to add a few more things. So right now, I'm gonna show you how I made Audio Money. Let's go. Why you work yourself? Why you work by yourself? Living fake la vida loca. All right, so I might have started with the cellos, but then it's like I had the idea of the drums in my head while playing the cello. So I'll start with the drums before I throw in the cellos. First thing I did, of course, most times, first thing I will drop is the kick. And I think I'm going to use this session to answer a lot of questions. So, because a lot of people ask me every time, yo, your kick is thumping. Your kick is thumping a lot of the times. And I'm just going to show you how I make my kick thump. So like I said, I'll start with the kick. Usually with my kicks, I have a couple of them that I take out, and then I treat, and then I save. And then per track, I add some more treatments. So it was a sample. I usually just throw in my samples into battery. I use battery a lot. And then I treat them in here and treat them outside. So my kick basically is compressed a bit in battery, because I like the fact that when you compress sound packs in battery, it adds this little saturation to the sample. It sounds nice if you're trying to cover the spectrum. So I have that in there. And then if I turn off the effect on the kick, it sounds like this. But if I turn them back on, then it sounds like this. So basically, what am I doing? I am treating the transients. I love transients, Lordsky percussions. I am pushing the top of the wave. I'm cutting behind the wave. Real quick, I'm doing that with waves. I usually use stock plugins sometimes, but I don't know, I grab waves. And then I am pushing the lower frequency of the bass to make it thicker with our bass. I use the Puteg EQ. I think I might be lifting like 60 hertz All this is just so when you hear that bass in the club, you feel it. Boom, boom. And then I probably have a channel EQ where I'm cutting off some of the things that, all the treating brought up that I don't like, and then I'm boosting some really high end on the kick. It's surprising, but then it's like when you listen to it on phone speakers, you're not gonna hear this lower part, but this hand part is gonna cut through. So that's a lot of processing for just my kick, because I don't play with the kick. So yeah, I had the kick. It's a simple kick, 1 1 1 2 times. And then what I did next was I had this snare. It's kind of like a snare, but it's almost like a clap as well. So how did I work? Snare, of course, is a sample I throw into battery. In fact, usually how I do it is before I start the session, I pick a snare, I pick a kick, I pick some few percussions, and I throw them in here how I want to use them. And then while I go on in the session, I might need something else and go grab it from somewhere. But this is how I started. One kick, the snare, another snare, and this that I use as percussions. I'll show you as I go ahead. But then on my snare, I'm treating transients as well. Because a couple of people ask me, how do you get it to cut through so much? It's like I'm listening on phone speakers and I can hear that snare. It is in the transients, the compressing, and the saturation. Sometimes it's like the frequencies don't really sound on phones and you want to recreate them with there's different ways to go about it. So it will sound on whatever systems you play them with. So I am pushing the transients like hell on this snare. And I think I'm brightening the top end of the snare, so it sounded more cut through. This is what it would have been, but then when I have this, it's more cut through. And then this is a snare. I used it as a percussion. It is a snare. He said a noisy beat, so I'm going for a noisy beat, a noisy room. So it was a snare. It sounded like this. And then I think I might have cut off some frequencies to make it sound like a percussion. So far we have a kick, this, and the snare. Oh Lord. Yeah, back to the vibe. So after I had that, I have this in a reverb. It's sending into a reverb to make it sound more like a percussion in a room, but not really in front, somewhere behind spatially. And then another thing I do that I guess I get asked a lot is, while I'm making the beats, I'm thinking in terms of space. I'm thinking space in terms of frequency. I'm thinking space in terms of left to right. I'm thinking space in terms of front to back. So sometimes I might throw in a percussion in there. It might be same frequency with another instrument, but if I throw it in the back with a reverb, everything sounds perfect. So that's what I did on this one. I have it going into a reverb to stay in the back of the mix. So yeah, this one right here is not really heard, but it's more felt. At intervals of the snare, it just comes to spread things up. So this just comes to spread things up in there. I think I might have cut off the high end of this one and somewhere around 500, 200, just so it doesn't clash with the other things. But this was just there to create that spread. So I have this, I think it's an agogo. It's an African instrument. And I threw it into battery 4 as usual. I didn't do too much on this one, apart from push it up a little bit with the transient and EQ the part I liked to come up a little higher. Cut off the part I didn't like, sub 100. And I think I threw it into reverb as well to push it further back, but it's there, you can feel it. So far we have this. And then next would have been another percussion, because it's like blood is biting me when I'm not throwing in like 5-6 percussions in there. So yeah, it's a conga. From what I hear, I think I might have tuned it yeah, I remember this conga, the next one, and I think this, I played them together. So how I usually do that is when I load them into battery, I have them in my pads here. So I play like I'm performing, because I play a lot of live instruments. I play like I'm performing on a live stage. And then when I play the different congas and percussions, then I separate them into different tracks so I can treat them individually. So I think this conga, the next one, and one other instrument I played together. And then after I did that, then I separated them. So yeah, I think I pushed this conga hard because I wanted it to cut through. So when you see me, I throw in, this is called Smack Attack though. It's by Wave. It's by Waves. I think it comes in the whole pack if you buy the whole pack. Smack Attack in there. If you're trying to get the same effect and you don't have Smack Attack, Logic has a plugin called the Enveloper. It does the same thing. The only thing is this one has a limiter you could use or not use at the bottom. So you could actually achieve this transient shaping with a lot of free plugins. And that's about that. And then so we have the groove, right? At this part we have the groove. We have the groove. So next, I think I threw a shaker in there because you have to let the ladies know that they have to move their waist, you feel me? So once you throw a shaker in there, you don't need to tell them, they just know that it is time. So shaker as usual, I just grabbed a random shaker sample because I have a lot of samples, more of sound than synths. So I grabbed the shaker. Obviously I brightened the top end because I wanted it to sound, I wanted it to cut through. And then I'm shaping it again because I think it was a noisy shaker. But like I said, I was doing this right there. He was waiting to sing on it. And when you start working with an artist and they're waiting to vibe, you don't want them to lose the vibe. So you have to do everything as quick as possible. So far we have this groove. Hey. So back to the vibe. This part right here is the rolls, but I didn't put the rolls until he put some vocals in there. So it's like I could know where I needed to pause, where I needed to have a roll, where I needed to just have a riser or something like that in there. But my rolls, most times I use what I call the dry drums. It's like live drums, but they don't have no reverb or tail, so I could really add that how I wanted. So right here I have my roll going like. So usually when I have this drums, they're dry and they sound like this. And then I throw in a lot of reverb because when I roll, I want it to sound big, right? So I had a lot of reverb. I had it sound like in there with the whole beat. It goes like. So this was the groove, how the song was supposed to go. I think after we started recording, it felt like, okay, it sounds very or quite African, but I think we wanted to push the Africanness of the vibe a little more. So I threw in talking drums. Now alone they sound so much like talking drums, but then in the mix it just gives an extra vibe. And I had the talking drums. Yeah, that's the talking drum right there. It sounds real. Because I have a lot of reverb. Because normally when you hear talking drum, it's like the person is on stage. There's a lot of width and stuff. They're a little boring on their own, but with some reverb, it sounds like real talking drums. So, and like I said, I like to think of the music like live sometimes. So when you hear those talking drums, there are other small drums that the people on stage play. They play them with these flexible sticks. I don't know the names, but they're very soft underneath the talking drums. So I try to create that with this. So inside everything, let's throw the kick in there. It's like, you feel it. So that was, I think so far we've covered a lot of the beat that you hear. Everything else, I think I put later. I will show you why. I put this cymbal in there. It goes like every 2 bars. I will show you why. You don't really hear it when you play the beat, but I put it under there to push up the staccato effect of the strings. So now we have the drums so far, and the drums all sound like this. All right, so then let me show you the first thing I made before I started to make the drums. But I had the drums playing in my head before I played it. If I played that just for you, you might not have gotten the idea. So the first thing I actually played was the cello on a metronome, and that is this cello. And I played it because Rudeboy loves strings. Once you have strings in there, he gets his vocal ability, like he gets him pumping. He can write anything, he can sing anything. There are just a few sounds that he loves. So without saying it, I knew he wanted strings, but I kind of didn't really want strings on this track, because like I want him to be the best, obviously, on the track, but I had a lot of drums and percussions, and then strings have this ability to kind of cover the whole spectrum, where it seems like the drums are on the strings and the drums aren't cutting through hard enough. So what I did was I gave him strings, but I played it in some kind of orchestra hit style. So you hear the strings, they're in there, but they're not really cutting the punchiness of the drums. So I played the strings in this way. And then to get the sound of these strings, what I did was I went back in time, and then I sampled the unicorns as they sang at 2 a.m. and it was beautiful. Say lie. Say lie. That's what some of these producers do to make young producers feel like they're not working hard enough, or they'll probably never get there. A lot of it is a lie. These strings are stock. Like if you get Logic, $300, these strings are in there stock. They come with it. The thing is that some of us do sometimes as producers is when we have the stock sounds, then we sound design it a little bit to sound a little fuller or more, a little different from how the essential way it sounded on the stock. And then you ask some of them, it's like, yo, I sampled the gods of the underworld at 2 a.m. at night. And the truth is, sample or not, whatever plugins you use or not, your dopeness is in your ideas. So really you should strive towards having the skills to bring your ideas to life. So some of these people may mislead you and whatever. Sometimes your ideas may be brought to life by sampling the sound from the underground. Some other times it may be brought to life by stock plugins. So basically you just have the idea, bring it to life, and be you, and your vibe will cut through straight up. So as I was saying, these strings are stock Logic cello strings, but then I think they sounded like this on their own. There was not too much character in it. You can feel it, it's nice, but there wasn't too much character. So first thing I did was I kind of EQ'd the low part away a bit, and then brought up the high end part. So you can feel that strike a little bit more. It's like, and then I think I had a compressor in there. Might have had, just to push up the tune a little bit. That's the only reason I had the compressor in there. And after the compressor, I had this plugin. It's called Wider. I think this plugin is even a free plugin. This, what it does is, most plugins that give you more stereo width, they have this thing where they introduce phase issues, but this one works great with that. So what I did was push the strings a little wider. Now it sounds so characteristic, like it was on stage and stuff, but it's really just stock plugins. and then I played that with, so with the beat in my head. Now it sounded this way. So now I have strings that Rudeboy loves. Now he's gonna sing so awesome on this track. But then the strings are not limiting the power of my drums. That's really why I played them in staccato, like it was a orchestra hits performance. And then after I had the strings in there, I wanted something to run from the start of the song to the end of the song. Something more Lordsky, you feel me? If you listen to a lot of my stuff, you would know I love percussions. Like, I love percussions, drum percussions. I love tonal percussions a lot. And this one, even though if you look at it, it's clear this is a WAV file, but why it is a WAV file is this is the original track. You see, same reason I bounced it into a WAV file is happening. Like, I made this project in June. We did Audio Money in June. This is August. I have probably 2 Logic updates I have done, and now the instrument is no longer in the track. So the thing is, when I'm working with third-party plugins, samplers, synths, I usually bounce them in place into WAV files. Immediately I get what I want, because you may close that project, open it tomorrow, and then the logic is not properly interacting with the plugin, and then it's like you're looking like, how did I get that? You can't get it again. So right here I have this, it's wood tongue, because I know how they work. I knew I may lose it, so I bounced it and I lost it already, but I know where it is. This is wood tongue. It's a sound from inside the tuned percussion pack of Native Instruments. Now that pack is inside the full complete series, but complete series, you know how expensive it is, so I don't advise you to go get everything. If you find sounds you love in there, pick those ones, pay for them, that's all. So this is wood tongue. It's from the tuned percussion series in the complete series. It is, you will play that on a contact 5, contact 6. So wood tongue, I know it. It's tuned percussion, so I know it. So wood tongue it's made by heating a wood, but then the wood was hit and it was tuned into the normal harmonic, like a piano, and then under it was layered with marimba softly, and then at the top it was layered with a xylophone. So everything comes together to sound like this. Let me play that alone. And I love that. I like the sound, because some people asked me if it was a marimba or a xylophone, because they couldn't quite get the marimba to sound this way, but it is wood tongue. This is what it sounds like. But then wood tongue on its own sounded a little dry, so I think I might have EQ'd it a bit. Yup, obviously, to push up the high end. I wanted the high end to pop on this track. And then I have another EQ. I'm using this as a dynamic EQ. So I think at some point this thing was popping too much. So when it pops too much, this is going to pull it down to just keep the frequencies in check. And then right after that, I had a compressor because there was a sound underneath I wanted to bring forth, to put it more in a room space. And then I think after that, I do a delay on it for character, really, nothing special. So this thing, you hear it almost through the whole song. So now I have my cellos. It goes. And then with the drums, so basically, like this, it's already a vibe. Like you can voice this track, put it out, joint. But then I think after he started to voice, yeah, there's some things I've not quite shown, cause of the orchestral performance, this this one's wearing really to be heard. It was just to push that, because he said everybody reach for Instagram, bam. I wanted that bam without using a bam, so you feel that cut through. Yeah, it's like, it sounds like this. I used the bass. I used another string instrument here to create the heat, right here. You feel that? So that's on its own. Underneath is a bass, like this. And that's why I had the symbol in earlier that I told you I will let you know what the symbol was doing. That's what it was doing, really, just to push that orchestra heat. So this part really comes after he says something, so you feel that thing. Everybody read for Instagram. Mm-hmm. Oh, I know they for Instagram. Mm-hmm. So that's the point of this, really. And then we have our wood tongue. I think the last thing I added in there for just sweetness, just make the song a little more sweet, was this acoustic guitar that I sampled the gods of the honor stock guitar. Trust me, it's a stock Logic acoustic guitar. But then, of course, like I usually say, I would design it to sound the way I want. Sometimes you spend way so much money for extra plugins. Meanwhile, you can create them with the ones that are there stock. So this is what it sounded like. So I think as the thing was going, I'm like, it would be nice to have an acoustic guitar here to just add some more sweetness. So I freestyle played this one. Most of the stuff I play, if you hear me play something that goes like this long, it's probably freestyle. And like I was saying, the stock guitar, it sounds so choppy. This is how it sounds stock. It doesn't really sound like something live. So compressor, EQ to taste, one reverb, a second reverb, bigger room. And so if you hear everything in context, musically, without the beat, this is what everything musical on the song sounds like. So that's it. But then I realized that, yeah, levels are different because I kept the acoustic guitar really underneath. But this part of the song, instead of automating, I just threw it to a new track, and I think I bumped up the volume and the reverb a bit, because automation is cool, but sometimes you can lose track of what you automated if you don't see it right in front of you. So that's why I did this that way. And what next? I think, yeah, at the time after I put the acoustic guitar, yeah, the last thing I did after the acoustic guitar was I created some kind of choir feeling where he sings the chorus of the song, or the hook as you may like to call it. And even though right here, the instrument is gone again, but I could tell you straight up, this is a full choir old. It's from Omnisphere. As soon as I played it and I liked it, I bounced it into a WAV file so that I don't lose it in the project. And obviously I've lost it. Like if I wanted to get that sound again without bouncing it, I'll probably have to go to Omnisphere and look for this exact sound and probably treat it the way I might have done on the project. So it sounds like this. It's like the easiest progression ever, but then it was what was necessary to bring out the Rudeboy vibe on the song. And raw, it was coming down the middle. and I needed his vocals in the middle, so I might have done some processing out here to push the sound to the sides and clear out the middle of the for his vocals. And I think after this I was done, and we were done, and then we recorded the first verse and the hook that day. And I think what he said after we recorded the first verse and the hook, because I said I was traveling in a couple of days, he was like, yeah, no problem with this first verse and the hook, we're fine, so I can record it at any time, so you just leave the beat, and whenever I record it I can send the vocals to you in the US to mix and master. Calm down, my sister, 'cause the money the audio I can't direct it. Alright, that was my FreeMe TV Studio X, the making of Rudeboy's audio money. Thank you guys for staying through. I hope I was able to break down to a large extent how I made this stuff. Like, if you have more questions, you could throw it down in the comment section, or you could hit me up Instagram, Lordsky with a double R. I usually respond to a lot of young producers. I'll probably be looking in the comment section here as well, so just feel free. And your game is your game, like I said before. Your ideas are what are going to make you pop, so that's what's up. And don't forget to subscribe to FreeMe TV. Like, comment, subscribe, and just keep your vibe. I'll probably come back soon to break down another instrumental, but for now, enjoy audio money.